Hello and welcome. You're watching My 11th Circle presents Cricbuzz Live. I'm Gaurav Kapur. The news from Abu Dhabi is that Sunrisers have closed out the game against Delhi. They've won by 15 runs. Let's show you the match summary real quick before we get our guests in. Real quick, Hyderabad sent into bat by Shreyas Iyer. Got to 162 for the loss of 4 wickets. And Delhi getting to 147 for the loss of 7 wickets. Rashid Khan, a real star, with 3 wickets for 14 in his spell of 4. Bhuvi hitting form and Natarajan bowling really well in the end. Yorker after Yorker like a vending machine. I've got Pommie and Shaun here with me. Gentlemen, first of all, really impressive bowling performance, Shaun, by Hyderabad.
Yeah, it was. We said it might be a wicket that was going to help Bhuvi just a little bit, and he really set the tone superbly in that first over, hit his areas, picked up the wicket, put Delhi onto the back foot, and they didn't let up. The other guys backed him up, and then once the situation was set up with him getting such a slow start, Rashid Khan was always going to come into the mix. He's such a dangerous performer. That's why I was a little bit found the approach of Delhi a little bit strange. You would think, knowing that Bhuvi was maybe feeling a little bit of pressure, you've got pretty inexperienced bowlers the other end. I thought they could have put them under immense pressure in those first 5 or 6 overs and really got them on the back foot, and then they could have played things easy against Rashid Khan. But even the performance of Abhishek Sharma was seriously good. Left arm spinning it into the 2 left-handed men at the crease. And he managed to hold his nerve. So, yeah, real quality. And Sunrisers needed a good performance, and they've bounced back beautifully.
Well, Pommie, we've seen 2 strange batting power plays in the game today, haven't we?
We have, yeah. I don't know. Whilst I was watching it, and I was thinking, well, I don't know if we need to give a whole lot more credit to the bowling sides in that they had worked out what would work on that surface, or as Shaun did after Sunrisers had their bat, in talking about the experience of both Warner and Bairstow, in watching them and thinking that's not usual. And at the halfway stage, I'm sitting there going, well, these guys really ought to have gone out a little bit harder, or at least one of them. And you know what? Perhaps because we sit some distance from the ground, we can give credit to how they read that pitch and how they played, knowing that as a Sunrisers side, number one, they need those 2 to bat a really long time. But number 2, on a day where you need to get 160, 165, they've got to read that to a T. And today, I think that they did.
You also look, Shaun, just a little bit at Bhuvi. I'm going to talk about Natarajan as well, because impressive from the young man right at the end. But let's just talk about Bhuvi, because he's extremely important. He's important to Hyderabad. He's important to India. He's an important bowler.
Yeah, he's hugely important. And, the success they had a couple of years back was down to his performances up front and then some quality batting. And in combination with Rashid Khan, they held things nicely in the middle. So he is huge. And as you mentioned, if he gets some movement, he just asks some questions, he can set a wonderful tone. So it's good to see him bouncing back and someone near best. And,
of course, Pommie, Natarajan in the end.
Yeah, look, in a game where 160 is on the board, you generally, you kind of have everyone having to get everything right in terms of your bowling lineup. If someone doesn't get, particularly right up at the front, because if at the front they go, they get close to like 50 in the power play, then you're almost done. The game's just about done, because they can bat how they want as they go along. But because of all the pressure that's applied up towards the front and the good bowling, where perhaps in the way that Delhi went about it, don't have to go too hard, don't have to do anything too drastic, we'll take what we get, and they get absolutely nothing. Then they've got to go out and try and start making things happen. And in trying to make things happen, as Shaun mentioned as well, against someone like Rashid Khan who comes into the attack, now you're making it difficult. You're fighting one situation, but you're also fighting the fact that the conditions don't really allow, and you've built up a whole lot of scoreboard pressure against yourselves anyway. So it makes the game that much more difficult. Yeah, I think you'd have to give credit to, one, the bowlers keeping their nerve, but two, actually being on target, because they had to be. If they weren't, it would have been another one of those Delhi nights where they were quite happy.
Yeah, but Polly even, sorry, yeah.
Natarajan, I thought he was superb, with his Yorkers. I actually thought he went to Yorkers too early. I think it was the 15th or so over, but he nailed them brilliantly. I think the big thing, the surprise has been for me so far in this tournament is we actually haven't seen too many of the guys get down and play the lap shot. And in the past, we used to always talk, well, why not some more Yorkers? The big challenge was that in my day, or Waka Yunus's or Wazim's day, people didn't get down and play the lap shot. So to nail the Yorker was vitally important, and it was very restrictive at times. In the modern day game, there's a lot of people who get down and play that lap. Think of someone like a Butler, for example. But in the last few games, we have seen guys with no real willingness to get down and play that shot. I mean, I know the nature of some of the surfaces has been small, but someone like a Pollard is not a paddler. Even some of these guys today. And when you've got batsmen who don't paddle and don't get down on that one knee, if you can nail your Yorkers, they're going to be as effective as they've been throughout the eternity of one-day international and T20 cricket. So what he did today was superb, being able to nail them, knowing that those batsmen he was up against weren't going to get down and scoop him.
When you look at the young batsmen of Delhi, these are, batters who really like the ball coming onto the bat. You get to a place like Abu Dhabi, which is just not giving you that at all. Delhi's got to do a little bit of thinking, saying, listen, it's not going to always be Sharjah. It's probably not going to be even Dubai. If we get something really slow and sluggish here, we've got to reboot our kids, right? We've got to reboot the youth a little bit to bat differently here.
Yeah, and you know what? I suppose coming off a scenario where they've just kind of crashed it to all parts, that's how they've played. The wickets come on that little bit better. They've taken it on and managed. They might be in that mode. Today, just about all of them. You look at the way the shots have been played. The ball hasn't got to the bat. They're, hands going off the bat and so forth, because the ball's sticking in the surface. There is a necessity to adjust in terms of skills, but you've got to have the skills as well. And this is not to say that they don't have the skills, but I think that they've got into this mode where what I can do is clear the fence. And so when I get into any sort of situation that's trouble, I'll clear the fence. But on a day like today, bowlers get it right and think, well, you know what? We'll use this surface. And if you try and fight against this surface, generally you're going to come off second best. And that's what's happened, isn't it? They've come off second best because you can't really clear the boundary without any pace on it whatsoever.
Yeah, and I think it's a valid point, Pom, and I think what's going to happen as the tournament goes on, you're going to get more and more of these surfaces. We've talked about how often they're going to be used, and that's where the people of the likes of Kane Williamson comes into his own, because he's not just a one-dimensional cricketer. He doesn't just have a ball coming on, whack it out the ground, and put people under immense pressure. If a surface is like it was today, he's got that ability to knock it for ones, work it either side. If he gets the right ball, still put it out the ground. So those kind of players, your experienced international guys who know how to adapt their game to the different circumstances and conditions, will come into their own, I'm sure, as this tournament goes on, as will a lot of the spinners like Rashid Khan. He'll start to play more and more of a part as we start to see these wickets deteriorate.
Yeah, I mean, Rashid Khan was absolutely brilliant today. But just one last word on the Hyderabad bowling. You are bowling Abhishek Sharma as your fifth bowler. That's what they did today. It was because the other four around him did well. But just I know, Polly, you said that you liked how he was bowling. But Pommie, what do you make out of him? Is this your long-term solution? Because otherwise they'll have to change the balance of this winning team again. Is he your regular fifth bowler if 2 or 3 of the others are going around the park?
So I think today, again, I'll say give credit to the group. Yeah. I think today it might, it's not, you don't want to take the shine off a team's win, but in an assessment of what is required to try and get 162 and who you're playing against, the first thing that teams do is identify the danger. You have to identify it, and you've got to know who in your opposition is going to stop you getting 160. And the two people you would pick out are Bhuvneshwar Kumar and Rashid Khan. They're in the 11. They're going to lead that attack. What must you do to ensure that you can get over the line, to give yourself a better chance of getting over the line? Don't let them do too much damage. Don't put yourself in a situation where you're taking undue risk at them. I say undue risk because I think there must be some pressure put on Bhuvneshwar Kumar, because the other side of that equation is also true, in that if Bhuvneshwar Kumar tries to start up and you get him away, suddenly there's nowhere else to really go. There are no real options for trump cards. And I don't think they played those two well enough. And so it allowed for the rest of the order to play well. And yes, they bowled really well. On a different day, they take Abhishek Sharma on and they maybe take him down. He bowled well today. He did. But he would be that guy. They'd look at it and say, he's okay. He's good. He can get it right on a day. But we've sat on everyone. And in he comes, we take him down. Yeah. And then as the skipper, you don't really have anywhere else to go. You're trying to find some more overs. And that's not a good place to be if you don't have any more options.
I'll tell you though, Hyderabad will be very happy because this has always been their formula for success. A bowling unit that works beautifully in tandem, like a symphony, everyone doing their part, everyone playing their instrument, and then, of course, stifling the opposition after putting runs on the board. That's what they did today. They'll be hoping that they can just do more of this as the tournament goes on, because they weren't able to do this in the first two games, and you could tell. But funnily, they've done it today by dropping a bowler and by increasing their batting. So, well, go figure, yeah? Go figure. All right, Johnny Bairstow, let's talk about him because he is on our booster stamina meter. Obviously, as a wicketkeeper, you're going to have to do a lot, but today he did that as a batter as well. He was at the crease till the 18th over and ran 53 singles, 11 twos, and 2 threes while he was there. And then kept wickets, Polly. He expended some energy today, hasn't he, old Johnny boy?
Yeah, he's shown some good stamina, and these kind of services you need to. You can't just stand and deliver. And when you've got a partner at the top of the order like David Warner, he doesn't let you settle. He makes sure you're running as hard as you possibly can for every single, for every two. And then obviously keeping is never going to be easy, but he's an important player for them. He rode the wave a little bit up front today and kept himself at the crease for a long period of time, and that's why he earns the stamina award of the day. So well done to Johnny.
And Pommie also, I mean, you usually looked at wicket keepers from England and you'd say, a few years back, you'd say, oh my God, how's he going to even keep to Rashid Khan? Because that's so tough. But now with more spinners coming in England, you've got another Rashid, and Bairstow's kept wickets to him as well. Obviously you're seeing these skills now that 10 years ago used to be, this country, you can't do this particular thing, or this country, you can't do that. Now, everyone can pretty much do everything, right?
Yeah, and he had a look at him. Remember, he turned up last year, had a look. They would have worked together because of the importance of that job. And I say the importance of the job. When you have a good spinner, it's important that whoever's behind the stumps is able to take what chances are created. And a big part of that is being able to tell which way it's going to go, particularly when you've got a wrist spinner like Rashid Khan. So, yeah, it's a tough job. It's a big job. He has a huge part to play in the Sunrisers Hyderabad side. Warner does well. Bairstow does well on any given day. Generally, they'll be okay, and it's only half the equation. But if they do badly, you can almost put your house on it that they're not going to win. If those two guys don't do well, then they don't really give themselves much of a chance. So, yeah, they've got a big part to play.
Both of you, I'm going to ask you a real quick question. In all your playing days, who's the best spinner wicketkeeper combo you saw operating? It's a good one, huh? It's a good one. While you think, I'm going to show people the My 11 Circle Ultimate Team of the day. How many of these did you have in your My 11 Circle team? There you go. Should have taken Johnny Bairstow and should have made him your captain. he would have got you a lot of points. And Rashid Khan as your vice captain. And we have somebody who has made the correct pick. Is our My 11 Circle champion of the day. Let's have a look at who it is. Atul Anand from Jamui in Bihar, 406 points. Well done, young man. Atul, congratulations. You're our My 11 Circle champion of the day. And I just want to tell you that keep playing My 11 Circle because we also have a chance to win a crore every week. That's 1 crore. That's 10 million Indian rupees. Just translating for my dear friends here. Yeah, it's 10 mil. It's not chump change. Yeah, it's not chump change.
Thanks for translating, actually.
Come on, I'm waiting for your answers. Come on.
You need to kind of, expound on that in the shortest format, in any format. So I don't know. I sat there thinking, I'd go Warren and Healy. I like them.
Warren and Healy. That's a good call.
I'd go there.
It's a good shout.
Yeah.
Polly?
Whoever kept Murali. You had to keep pretty well if you were going to do a good job because not only couldn't we pick him as batsman, I'm sure the wicketkeeper had his moments on those turning surfaces. Nine Mongia was also really good against Kumble. I think of some of those pitches where the ball was really bouncing and he got himself into strong positions. So any of those.
So there was Sangha with Murli. There was Kalu, I think earlier.
That was before, yeah.
Prasanna, Jayavardhane, there was him. He went through. Well, if you're going to get 800 wickets, you're going to go through a few wicket keepers, aren't you?
Quite a few,
Yeah.
Here you are. All right. Well, Hyderabad has gone through Delhi today. That's what they've done. So they've got 2 points. Delhi could not make it 3 from 3. Let's have a look at the points table and see who is where. Well, now it's 2 from 2 Rajasthan, which is on top. And they're playing tomorrow as well. So can they make it 3 from 3 now? And you have Hyderabad, who's moved up a little. But what are my eyes seeing, Pommie? What is
I know
that?
what you're going to say.
We know where he's going with this, don't we?
He's going to say, why is the yellow right at the bottom? That's
What's
what he's
that
going to
shade
say.
of yellow at the bottom? Surely this year is getting stranger and stranger. But I didn't think it was that strange. Yeah.
Well, hey, they're much closer, all of them this year. I think they're much closer, the team.
Sure.
It's not so, you think about it. Many, at home were sitting there thinking, what an upset. Sunrisers have beaten the Delhi Capitals. And I know I sat here saying, watch out for this Delhi Capitals side. They've got internationals all the way down. But such is the beauty of IPL that on any given day, it's very difficult to call because each team has enough quality to be able to knock over the other side. So it's so tough to call. It really is.
Yeah.
And particularly in this tournament because there's no home ground advantage, is there? It's 3 different venues. Like, if you're in Chennai and you're going home for a couple of home games, you're going to get a surface that's going to suit your team and your spinners back. Whereas here, you don't always know what you're going to get. And you can also fear going to Sharjah.
Correct. Well, I mean, Abu Dhabi is playing a bit like Chennai, isn't it? Abu Dhabi today, at least, was playing a bit like Chennai. And Sharjah is playing like Wankhede or Chinnaswamy. So you could find a few comparisons here and there. Tomorrow, the match is at neither. The match is, in fact, at Dubai. Looking like the fairest surface at this point in time, I think, out of the 3. It's not much to pick from. One is bowler central. Like today, we saw Abu Dhabi. Help for the bowlers. Can't say bowler central. The other, well, the bowlers might as well miss the bus in Sharjah because there's no point even showing up to the ground. But Dubai, Polly, fair call. It's sort of the fairest kind of surface.
Yeah, it seems that way. Nice, decent sized ground. The wicket has played probably the best of all the 3 we've seen. And also the dew factor, according to Pommie and the commentators, is least affected at that ground. So I think there'll be a lot of teams looking forward to getting there. Rajasthan. It'll be interesting to see how they adjust. It is a different thing to come off a ground where you just stand and deliver and chip everything over the boundary, and then all of a sudden you're faced with new dimensions. You're faced with a completely different surface. How do you adapt? And that's what T20 cricket and the IPL is all about, always having to adjust to different conditions on the day, making sure you get the right combinations. And your star players are key to be able to adjust their own games to what they face on the day.
Pommie, I'm keen to see how the Rajasthan batters go in a slightly different ground, right? In a slightly bigger ground, little less helpful to the batsmen. It's a good challenge.
As am I. I am interested in seeing how they play it. Having practice, so maybe before game one, it wasn't a case of let's practice getting the ball over the ropes, kind of ball after ball after ball. But having played game one at Sharjah, and Sanju Samson just deposited everything everywhere, and then only just defended it. Chennai got 200 in chasing 214. So, they struggled. They kind of, this is getting close. And Chennai had a poor chase. Going into game two, it was a case of, how are we going to go here? Rahul and Agarwal smash it everywhere. You have no choice. Now you must hit it out the ground. And I didn't mean Rahul Tewatia, by the way. But you then smash it out the ground because now you must. And then you come to Dubai. I say come because I'll be here.
You're there to welcome them.
I'll be there waiting to welcome them. Now you've got to decide which do I hit, which do I not. The saving grace, I think, is that the surface is Trua, but we don't know where we'll be on that square, whether we'll be back towards the center or we'll be to one side or the other. Yeah, when it's in the middle, as was the first couple of games, it's got a bit of pace on it, or it had. As we go on, it might have less and less. But it had some nice pace on it. Faster bowlers were happy. So interested to see if Archer will be okay there. But you can also play your shots. If it's in the slot, it does go out the ground there as well. So, yeah, there'll be a lot of decisions to make for one side. KKR is also a good side.
Listen, I mean, if the bowlers get something, then, Pat Cummins, Jafra Archer, they're going to be excited. They're going to be looking forward.
There's enough. Some nice fast bowlers to watch.
Let's have a look at the KKR squad and the Rajasthan squad. No, keep it. No, it's gone again. Wait, stay there. Calm down, everybody. Let's have a look at the Kolkata squad. There it is. The strength, and we keep talking about it, Polly, the strength of this squad is the options that DK has. He can play 7 proper bowlers, right? And the fact is that from his top 6, he gets a wicketkeeper and he gets 6 overs from his top 6. That's gold.
It is. I mean, there's a nice balance to it. But if I'll be totally honest, I would think there are more questions about their ability and the players at this stage. Nareen hasn't come really good at the top of the order. Gill hasn't really got going. The captain, Kartik, hasn't reached his straps as yet. You've got someone with all the experience and brilliant captain ability of Morgan sitting next to him, helping with giving advice. So, I mean, it was a comfortable win, their second one. They didn't have to chase much, so no pressure whatsoever. But I still think they're battling to find out. Russell hasn't really kicked into gear as yet. I'm sure we'll see some fireworks from him at some stage. But, I think they've got more questions for me than Rajasthan. I think Rajasthan are pretty settled, know what they're about and what they're going to go with and almost what we can expect from them. Kolkata, for me, still, I'm waiting to see a few questions answered.
Interesting. But, Pommie, the questions, yes, the worries are there. But do you see any personnel change?
For Kolkata?
Yes.
Oh, no, I don't think so. I think they would have been happy with what they did in the previous game. I liked that Morgan and Shubman Gill together seemed calm and composed under the circumstances because they could be. And it's this thing about reading situations and doing what's required in the situation. With the experience that there is of Morgan in that middle order, I think that helps them a great deal. he also possesses the big hitting necessary. And so you think who comes after him in Andre Russell? Does he have the form and so forth? There are questions, yes, but I think you're okay if as you go along, you can just get the machine turning around. They have the tools, I think. They, fast bowling and batting. I think they have the tools, and over time, they might well be able to kind of get going. It's a big statement, I know, but I say it because I like their side too. I just like their side. It looks a decent side.
It's a good sign, and they are definitely going to open with Narayan, right? I mean, as Virender Sehwag says, that with Narayan opening, he walks in at 0 for 1, and then essentially just they treat whatever they get out of Sunil Narayan as a bonus, Polly, don't they?
Yeah, and he's had some effective knocks. He gives it a good smack, and he's actually getting more and more experience at the top of that order now. I mean, he's done it all around the world, really. So, I like the situation. I like the bonus that he does bring. I mean, he's there to bowl his overs, but he often gets them off to a little flyer, and they're not expecting more than that.
The only time they question him, I think the only time where they start asking the question is if he has a game where there are no runs up front, which you're hoping for, but you're not expecting necessarily. He'll expect more from himself, and there might well be batting coach saying, no, mate, you don't give away the 1 wicket. Nobody wants to, nobody tries to. But here's your job, go and try and do it. But when he doesn't have any effect with ball in hand as well, and then they start to worry because, okay, so where do we go? And McCullum, I think, is Mr. I'll back you. You go and do the job for me. I'll back you. I know you can, and you will come good for me, that sort of thing. So that's why I speak of a wheel that's kind of cobwebs coming off.
They're a good team, though. They're a good team. I agree with Pommie. They've got lots of options there, and they're definitely looking good. Let's have a look at the Rajasthan team. Look good so far. They have. Yes, they have. There they are. My question to both of you gentlemen is, because I think that Butler and Samson should be opening, where do you stand? Polly, you go first.
No.
You like?
I'm going to agree with you.
You don't need to. No.
Yeah, I mean, he's the form player, isn't he? I mean, Samson, there's no doubt he's the form player. And he's played 2 great knocks on a ground where it's pretty easy just to chip it. I still think he's got some game plans to come right at the bigger grounds, and I'm sure he'll work it out as he goes along. But I'm happy with their setup for now. I think having Steve there is a good option.
Pommie?
Yeah, I don't mind Steve Smith up at the front. I like that he decides he's going to, go in and set the tone. I don't have an issue at all with that. I think also in terms of following up, Samson has shown that he's able to adapt himself, whether he starts or whether he bats at 3. He's able to adapt himself and go. Maybe it is that Steve Smith feels that he is unable to, get into gear as quickly. It just looks like Samson can walk in and smash it. First ball, bang, out the ground. He's able to do it, and some batsmen take some time to get going. So you don't lose anything as well, I don't think, if you have Smith and Butler at the top. If anything, you're gaining in that if they get off to a really good start and they bat a really long time, you know that you're going to be going at a rate of knots. So, yeah, I don't think there's any issue in that. You change it if you want, you don't change it if you don't want. And it doesn't. I don't think it really does make a difference. I genuinely don't. I wouldn't change it, though. I'd keep them the same.
Good point. One question, though, before we wrap up the discussion on Rajasthan, is that in their remaining 12 games of the league, will we see Rahul Tewatia coming out at 4 again?
Oh gosh, what is it? Wasn't it? I mean, that for me was the biggest Jekyll and Hyde innings I've seen in my entire history of watching cricket. I really felt for the guy as he was sitting there and he couldn't lay bat on the ball with the spinners. And then the turnaround to go and hit 5 sixes. It was just, I was actually so excited for him because, as his family or friends or everyone watching, they would have been like, oh no, he's really struggling and what can he do? And then to turn it around and almost become the hero, well, basically was the hero at the back end. It was just, you can't write those kind of scripts. That's why we love sport, because there's no scripts involved.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, look, it's a tough question. And the reason I say it's a tough question is because here was a situation that was nigh on impossible, that he got himself into or got into. But prior to getting to that situation, prior to him being 5 of 13 or 8 of 19, whatever it was in the end, they must have seen something in him before that said, with us needing 12 and over, and the way to get it on this ground is to hit sixes because it's small. You go in. You're the left-hander, yes, but you go in because you can hit it out the ground. That's genuinely what otherwise you don't send the guy in. And, you just go with whoever's next. So that being the case, I think that he will still play. I don't know that he'll walk in at number 4. I don't know that he'll walk in any earlier than he would be slotted in the batting lineup. I think they will let him come in what would be his natural position. And if the 6 hitting comes off, it comes off. But otherwise, he just bats like what Rahul Tewatia bats.
So I have seen him in the Delhi Nets. I've seen him in the Delhi Nets. It's a long ball. He's got a 16 ball 50 in domestic cricket. Also, what Manoj Tiwari told us on the Hindi show was that he's very good with the sweep and the reverse sweep, which is why they perhaps send him against the leg spinner. But then you had Bishnoi bowling at him, who was just taking it away from the left-hander because he barely has a leg break, right? So that's where the inadvertent chess move got played on a defined chess move. But then he showed his ability against Cottrell and against Shami. Sorry, Paul, you were saying.
Yeah, I just think if you've been in those bowling meetings, you analyze that innings and have a look at where he hit his boundaries, particularly against the seamers, and the fact that he couldn't take on those spinners. I think you've got enough to work with. I think you've got enough of a good game plan of where you don't want to go and where you can really restrict him. So that's why I would be a little bit surprised. I'm not saying he won't play, 100%. He can come in if he bats at 6 or 7 and he comes in the last few overs, he's got to do a job. But I think if you've got lots of bowling options and he comes to the crease now as a captain of the opposition, I think you've got an idea of what you're going to do to try and put that kind of pressure that he was initially under in his innings.
You're so right, both of you. It was probably one of the strangest spells of like 20 minutes that I've seen in cricket as well.
Yeah. Guys, I was on comms. I remember being on comms and putting the microphone down because it was kind of impossible to call. Here's this game that very much was going down to the wire, right? It was, oh dear, have they got enough? Oh dear, they're going to smash this. Oh, who's going to bowl next? This is 12. Ooh, that's tough. That's going to be very tough. Can you consistently hit it out the ground? Can you make an error? And then, and you're going, oh no. And the oh no is this great sympathy for a guy is trying as hard as he can, and it's just not going on the day. And you think, oh, and my thought was, this is terrible because he's a young guy who's going to be wiped off the face of IPL. That would be him. If that ends with them losing by 15, 20 runs, and he's got whatever he's got, and the game's over, and he slinks off into the change-up, they could try as hard as they want to pick him up, right? But they wouldn't play him in the next game. They couldn't really. And tell me another franchise who try and go for him, after that. Because the things people remember, it's crazy. They'll just remember that, and that's you, right?
Yeah.
But now what will they remember? They'll remember that this guy, it must have, the mental fortitude, he has to be admired. And they will remember, hey, he can plonk it up the ground. And so his stock has actually risen. I think that's unbelievable.
I tell you what, though, everyone's going to be tuning in to see how he goes in the next game.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the buzz
Did
of
you
interest
see his tweet?
the RPL is going to be there.
Did you see his tweet?
No.
He sent a tweet, and I want to get this right, man. The Rajasthan was, or someone sent a tweet that said, 2020, hopefully can still do a Tewatia on us, right? We're hoping that it can still do it. And then much later in the day or something, he's tweeted after ages. He hasn't tweeted on his account for I don't know how long. And he said, sorry, guys, I'm late. Smile. It's just brilliant.
It's on the Rajasthan Royals Twitter page. It's the line that says we hope 2020 can do a Tewatia in the end. So yeah, there you go. It's this tournament has given us so many great moments, and we're just what 11 games in or something. It's just given us so not even into the teens, and it's given us so many great moments, super overs and catches and matches going down and changing like this, roller coasters. It's been absolutely fabulous. It's also given us a lot of very difficult joy factor questions. Today was no different. Today was no different. 3 people who have played in this tournament have accomplished this feat in tests. Azhar Mahmood, Scott Styris, and 1 player who's playing this season. Which feat in Test cricket is this? First just achieved by someone born in India. See, the born in India is the tricky one.
Yeah, because he won't be from here,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's Nasir Hussain.
Maybe.
Could be.
Maybe.
The first was Ranji. Okay. We're going back. Century and half century in a debut test. Faf is the last. And the first was Ranjit Singh Ji.
Wow.
Joy getting us a contemporary question from 120 years ago.
Wait. I mean, how are we gonna get that, Joy? Come on, Joy. Help us here. Did anyone get it right? Yeah, here's a question.
Somebody did.
What? You Cricbuzz folk. Oh, what?
It's been, where did it go? It's disappeared. Bring it back. I didn't see his name.
Man.
Correctly answered by Deadpool. Is his name Hi Harsha?
Know. That's Deadpool _444. Well, there you go.
Do you think?
We just created someone there. Someone's created someone. It in. I reckon it's Arun. Yeah, he's created someone.
It's either Arun, our director, or it's Joy. And now he's taunting us by saying hi Harsha. I just want tomorrow's Joy Factor winner to be called Hey Pommie. Oh, if that could happen, that'd be really great. So Joy, if you're listening, if you could just do this for tomorrow. Well, that's all we have time for. We're done. We gotta go. Sad face, but well, it is time to go. It is midnight here in India. Of course, Pommie's fresh because it's just 10:30 for him. Polly, what is it for you? 9:30? 8:30? 8:30. Look at you. Still time. The evening is young. Look at him. All right. We're going to see you tomorrow. I'm Gaurav Kapur. You were watching My 11th Circle presents Cricbuzz Live. We'll be here at 7 p.m. Indian Standard Time. Thank you so much for being with us today.